the biggest sell that you have to get rid of before people actually look at the stats and realize that he's bad is George Pickens. He's terrible.
Come on. I just said we're going to end the episode soon, and you bring up George Pickens, then we're going to be here for another 3 hours.
Yeah, George Pickens is currently, incredibly, the wide receiver 19 on Keep Trade Cut. Speaking of weirdness, Jameson Williams is the wide receiver 17. I think he's got 2 passes. But anyway, George Pickens is the wide receiver 19 on Keep Trade Cut. And funny thing about George Pickens is that he's shown no indication of being good whatsoever. 0.141 targets per route run. That's not good. He's ran a full route share, so I guess congrats to him. But that also means that we've had 526 routes to ascertain the level of his skill. And what we've ascertained is that he doesn't have much. He has 1.33 yards per route run. That's sterling. That is worse than Romeo Doubs. And I guess my ultimate question is with George Pickens is, first of all, why he's valued anything like the actually good wide receivers in this class, such as Drake London and Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. And then my other question, of course, is why he's valued above the other actually good wide receivers in this class, like Christian Watson and Treylon Burks. And then my last question is, why is he valued anything like the elite old wide receivers who will actually give you difference-making production, a position that tends to not give you difference-making production, like Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp? And then actually I have one more question, which is, if you really like wide receivers who, as rookies, score a middling amount of points, earn 14% targets per route run at about 1.3 yards per route run, and run all of the routes for their team, why don't you just like the better college prospect who is drafted in round 1, who has scored more points per game and costs less, in Jahan Dotson, who's the same guy, but just better, but better all the time. Just take him, and he's cheaper, and he actually has first round draft capital, and he actually drew targets in college. Unlike George Pickens, he's drawn targets never. Maybe he did in high school. That would be cool. But the next 20% target share that George Pickens puts in his career, after being a voting eligible citizen, will be his first.
A voting eligible citizen. Wow.
Yeah.
That was too far.
In 3 years in college and in the NFL, he's never had a 20% target share.
Okay, let's talk about George Pickens.
Right.
Fine.
Who's been literally doubled in targets by Deontay Johnson and is valued ahead of the dynasty substantially.
Let's just compare. George Pickens and Jahan Dotson both played college football, correct?
Right. Yes.
So at age 18, George Pickens was putting up 1.75 yards per team pass attempt.
Right.
And Jahan Dotson was putting up a remarkable 0.54.
Right. And so at age 18 was the first and last and only time in which George Pickens has been better than Jahan Dotson.
And then also at age 18, the market share of receiving yards, 23.29% for George Pickens, and Jahan Dotson at 7.16%. So that wasn't very good either. So then we have age 19 as well. You're familiar that they played more than 1 year. So they played at 19.
Yeah.
George Pickens, again, 1.68. And Jahan Dotson, 1.33. So again, not as good. And then 20.53% to 16.96%. Again, not as good. George Pickens, better across the board through 2 years of college. And then George Pickens tears his ACL and doesn't play his junior year. That happens. Sometimes players tear their freaking ACLs at the least opportune time.
And then Jahan Dotson actually produced in college.
And then Jahan Dotson went for 38.37%.
Right.
When
did George Pickens ever show us that type of production?
He didn't get to play. He didn't play his third year. And then he didn't play his fourth year because he was so good at football. He declared early, and the NFL said, yeah, of course, come on in. And the Pittsburgh Steelers took him in the second round of the NFL draft because he's so good coming off.
Which is good. And then that's when he showed his target earning potential, right? That's when he showed it.
And then he got to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And that's when he showed that he's one of the best wide receivers in all of football.
Right. And how did he do that?
I'm not sure yet, but I'm going to figure it out here in the next couple of minutes.
He made a one-handed catch, right? He made a one-handed catch.
He made some really nice catches.
He started television with a ski mask on. Yeah,
I'm like out here film grinding, obviously, and seeing these amazing catches. I've also seen him push over defensive backs when they least suspect it. So he's obviously a dog. Got the dog in him. These are things that are important. Critical aspects to my analysis going forward. I'll be looking for that across the board on every wide receiver. I think George Pickens is the only one that does it. So point to him. Anyway, you can't be mad at George Pickens for not being an exceptional producer in college when he literally played his first 2 years.
I'm not mad at him. I'm just saying
You're mad at him.
I'm not mad at him. All I'm saying is it not possible that a player who, when people watch him get targeted, they're like, oh my God, this guy's so good. And yet he was never targeted all that often in his 2 healthy years in college, and then was never targeted all that much in the NFL. And people are like, how is this reconcilable? What if he's just really good at a couple of things and not all that good at other things? And that's why his entire career has been one big flat line ever since he was 18, while Jahan Dotson might have a few more tricks up his sleeve, right? Might have a little bit more opportunity. And again, I don't even think Jahan Dotson is actually a buy, to be honest. Like a wide receiver 26.
Obviously you do. You can't.
And he's also a 40% target per run. I think that he's also overvalued. But if I had to pick between the two, I would straight up take Jahan Dotson, and he's cheaper. What I'd much rather do with Dotson or Pickens is trade them for either an old wide receiver who scores a ton more points, or just get up to the 3 wide receivers who are legit really good, and I have zero questions about. Olave, Wilson, London. Particularly London, because he's cheaper than the other 2. Just get up to London. Or all the better. I mean, how much would you have to add to George Pickens to get up to Trey Lance right now?
How much do you have to add to Jahan Dotson to get up to Trey Lance right now?
Not the same thing. You have to add more. That's why it's not the same thing. But yes, I would do it.
Here's the thing. You went on Twitter, the public forum. What does Elon call it? A town hall? The public town hall? Is that what it was? You went to the town hall and you were proclaiming that George Pickens is the biggest sell in Dynasty. The biggest sell.
Yes, he is. Yeah,
there's no one bigger to sell in Dynasty.
No, everyone else is like 5'11",
which is fascinating. Fascinating, because George Pickens is doing kind of exactly what we expect rookies to do.
Well, he's doing what I expect mediocre rookies to do, which is to be mediocre. And George Pickens is a mediocre prospect with a mediocre rookie year. So yeah, he's doing what I expect him to do.
And then when you look at the other guys who did what George Pickens did as a rookie, and you see like, I don't know, DeAndre Hopkins and Devontae Adams and all these other.
I love when can people stop with the arbitrary comps list? Like, what if we just did the
comps?
What
are you talking about arbitrary comp list? There are similar prospects that did similar things as rookies. What more do you want from them?
Yeah, and we'll just pick the best ones. Let's just pick the best ones. Let's just pick DeAndre Hopkins and Devontae Adams. Let's not throw in anybody else who ever had a 14% targets per run as a rookie. Ignore them all. Just pick out DeAndre Hopkins and Devontae Adams. Those are the only 2.
There's other guys that did similar things to George Pickens, other than just those 2.
Right. Let's hear them all.
Okay, let me pull it up. One moment, please. Pulling it up now.
Right, and of course, you will only mention the bulletproof ones, even though George Pickens never should have been a bulletproof prospect because
he dominated his first 2 years in college.
You pretended that his 3rd year didn't happen. You were just like, oh, no, it didn't happen. 1 year of production is good enough because George Pickens
he's got 2 years of production.
He has 1 year of production.
He has 2 years.
Not a chance he met your thresholds in year 2.
He absolutely did. My thresholds are very low. It's very easy to hit the thresholds.
Congratulations. You have low enough thresholds for George Pickens to hit them. That's impressive, I guess. It's a little sad, but it's impressive.
So similar target shares among bulletproof prospects, because George Pickens was very much a bulletproof prospect. I don't know. Juju Smith-Schuster went on to like a 1,400 yards second year. Does that not count for something?
Congrats, Juju. I mean, all of these players who have similar target shares. Well, I shouldn't say all. I haven't looked at the entire list, but many of these players just like ran more routes in second year, and that's why their target share got higher. Whereas George Pickens already runs all the routes.
Rashad Bateman, Tyler Boyd, DeAndre.
Rashad Bateman sucks. Tyler Boyd sucks.
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams is very good. Yeah, Devontae Adams is very good. So Devontae Adams.
You're like, oh, you can only say the good ones. I'm like, they're all good. Except
Well,
for
no, just literally
Rondell
just
and
Devontae
Bateman
Adams.
aren't done yet.
Literally just Devontae Adams is good.
What about DeAndre Hopkins?
Oh, well, he's good too. Those two are good.
Okay.
Those are the two good ones. Everybody else is bad.
Okay, so anyway, where I'm going with all this is simply to say that he's going to have very solid sophomore comps because he's doing what rookies do. Like, he's not a superstar rookie. We can agree on that. I'm not out here saying he's Jamar Chase or I don't know, Justin Jefferson. Like, he's not those guys, but he's fine. He's doing fine.
Right. So why store first round pick value and fine? Why not use that to re-roll him into hopefully better than fine?
And we probably will, just not yet. He's still going to gain value between now and the NFL draft.
No, he's not, because people will eventually see reason. The further they get from the highlights, the more the people will look at the stats and be like, right, this guy's bad.
No, they won't. They'll look at the film like I do.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is they're going to project a second-year increase for George Pickens, as they should. And then they're going to project a second-year increase for Kenny Pickett, which may or may not be the right thing to do.
That would be the wrong thing to do.
And they're going to pump up George Pickens a little bit more. You're not going to get more than a mid-first.
He's going to get higher than wide receiver 18. Here are some wide receivers behind George Pickens right now on Keep Trade Cut. Christian Watson, who will be ahead of George Pickens. Chris Godwin, who should be ahead of George Pickens. Traylon Burks, way better than George Pickens. Michael Pittman, I don't care. He's super mid. Terry Midlaurin, I don't care. Jerry Jeudy is better than George Pickens. Jahan Dotson is better than George Pickens. Marquise Brown is better than George Pickens. DJ Moore is better than George Pickens. Brandon Ayuk, I could care less about. Deontay Johnson is definitely better than George Pickens. DeAndre Hopkins, I was
whoa. Deontay Johnson's going after George Pickens?
By a lot.
That is the crime of the century. You people.
This was my entire tweet. Deontay Johnson is
what tweet? I didn't see
wide receiver. I said Deontay Johnson has literally double George Pickens in targets, and people still like Big Dude better in Dynasty for no reason. And
Big Dude, is that his name?
That's what I call him. I call him Big
I think
Dude.
you need to stop giving nicknames. They're not working. That's not a good nickname.
And Deontay Johnson's wide receiver 33 in Dynasty right now.
Oh my God. People, like, listen. You need to go and get Deontay Johnson. Stop everything. Pause the podcast. Go and get Deontay Johnson.
Calvin Ridley is at wide receiver 37. I'd rather have him than George Pickens. Yeah. Calvin Ridley's also behind Gabriel Davis. So that's tough.
Well, here's the interesting thing. This is where I'm going with all this. Is you are saying he's the biggest sell in Dynasty. I will agree he's a sell. I don't think he's an immediate sell. I don't think we have to sell him today. I think we have time. I think we're going to get reception perception, painting him in a very positive light.
Yeah, they like him.
We're going to get second-year bump for him and his quarterback. We're going to get a lot of hype for George Pickens over the next, 4 months or however long it is till draft season. It's not a sell George Pickens today. It's not an emergency. He's not the biggest sell in Dynasty. What's interesting, though, is that you are a noted last year, or like 4 months ago, to be a Gabriel Davis radical centrist.
I am. I'm a centrist. I'm a centrist.
Would you like to know what George Pickens' KTC value is right now?
It's too high. Is what I'm going to say that it is.
It's 4,762. It's entirely too high. I agree.
Yeah.
But you're saying it's the biggest sell in Dynasty. 4 months ago, you were telling me you were a radical centrist on a player who had done nothing in the NFL for 2 consecutive years, less than George Pickens has done. He did less than George Pickens has done in his first year. And you're a radical centrist. And here is the kicker. If you were to look at what Gabriel Davis's value was on September 15th, it was 4,742 KTC points.
That is like week price. That's like week 4 of the NFL season.
September 15th? Are you kidding me? That's week 1.
That is post his big game in the NFL season. Okay. Look at his entirety of the summer, okay? Look at his big flat line here. From July 1, he was at 38.58 all the way to August. He's at 4,000. He was living in the high 3,000s. And then when he spiked in week 1 and he moved up for like a week and then he came down and then he moved back up, whatever. I don't give a shit. I never valued wide receiver 15. In fact, our entire conversation, he was at wide receiver 43 on Keep Trade Cut. And I was like,
biggest sell in Dynasty. Brutal. Absolutely
yes,
brutal.
He's the biggest sell in Dynasty.
He's not the biggest sell in Dynasty.
Yes.
You should sell him, but not yet. You can wait. He's going to get more value. It's going to be fine. But you're going to sell him because the problem is that we
I'm gonna sell them. I don't have any. I already sold them all.
Well, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the audience. I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
Your team sucked. Audience, what I'm saying is that you have time to sell George Pickens. The reason that I'm going to sell George Pickens when I usually don't sell second-year bulletproof wide receivers is simply because we do not have a strong projectable outcome for George Pickens. We have threes a crowd going on, and we have Kenny Pickett's, who's terrible. So, like, we do not have a strong range of outcomes projectable for George Pickens, even if he might be good. We can sell him. We'll buy him back in a few years if he ends up being good, and it's going to be fine. But we're going to sell him prior to the NFL draft.
Okay, I'm glad we agree. George Pickens, biggest sell time.